A couple of years ago, I introduced my $30 workbench. This bench is small, but it works because you sit on it and your weight holds it steady. I based my bench on ancient Roman designs, but I built it by laminating up cheap 2x4s. At least, it was cheap when I built it. If I built that same bench now, it would cost... Yikes! That is a lot of money for a basic workbench. But I've been using this bench since I built it, and I've learned a lot. My original low bench is much longer and heavier than it needs to be. That laminated top weighs a ton, and all that mass isn't necessary. The bench can also be shorter, which makes it much easier to store and move around. So today, we are going to build an updated, slimmed-down version of this bench. It's going to be simple and easy to build. We're going to use a very small kit of basic tools. This bench is going to be perfect for new woodworkers, and it's still going to be really inexpensive, even with today's crazy lumber prices. And I know, that sounds like a lot. It kind of sounds like I'm bragging, but it's not bragging if it's true. I know everyone is freaking out about the high cost of lumber. So we're going to build the whole bench, including the legs, from a pair of 8-foot-long 2x8s. Mine are spruce, and they cost me $13.77 each. So the wood still costs less than 30 bucks. You'll also need some screws and a little bit of wood glue. For a lot of people, this is going to be a first workbench, so I can't build it down here where I already have benches and all the tools. Instead, I'm going to build it up in my backyard with no bench and no work holding. I do recommend building a pair of my low Japanese sawhorses. They're very easy to make, but you could also use a couple of plastic buckets. Luckily, those are still cheap. This project has a lot of sawing, and you're going to need something to get your lumber off the ground. You're also going to need a good saw. This Ryoba is an excellent choice, and it's the only saw I used for the entire build. Building this bench out of 2 narrow boards instead of a single wide board helps us keep costs down, but it also has a lot of other advantages for the build. For instance, the bench is going to work a lot better if we put a square mortise in it to hold different work-holding accessories. And because we're using 2 boards, we can get that square mortise with no chiseling and no drilling. I'll use a cheap speed square to lay out half of my mortise on each board, carry those lines down the edges, cross-cut my lines, and then just take the back of my hatchet and knock the waste free. It splits out with no trouble, and I can use a knife to clean up the edges. When both of these notches are done, you can put them together to make a perfectly square mortise. Now we can join those 2 boards together to make our bench top. We could glue this joint, but that probably wouldn't be strong enough. So instead, we're going to cut some battens and screw those across our 2 top boards. We want those battens to be strong, but also to stay out of the way. I've got plenty of extra stock, so I cut my battens the full width of my bench, but I don't want those thick ends poking out. So I'm going to take my hatchet and bevel them. This keeps the bench slender and easy to handle without weakening it. I'll locate the battens close to the ends of the bench. In this shot, you might notice that my boards are different lengths at one end. This is going to make the bench much better for work holding, and I'll explain it more later in the video. I'll lay out some screw locations, drill my clearance holes, and add a bit of glue before I run in my screws. The screws are doing most of the work here, but the glue can't hurt. If you have some construction adhesive, that's another good choice. Once the battens are done, the top is finished, and we can move on to the legs. Each leg starts out as a square stick, 21 inches long. You can use the edge of a board to lay out the thickness of the legs. You'll be able to get 3 legs out of a single piece of stock. So I laid out 6 legs. Here's why. You're ripping a relatively short board into 3 long strips. It helps to start with 1 sawhorse and saw down all 3 ends. Then you can put the board between 2 horses and saw out the middle. Then flip the board and come in from the other end to saw everything free. Making the cut in several stages is helpful when you have limited tools, but some of the cuts might drift a little bit. By making 6 legs, you can pick the best 4 and save the other 2 for scrap. Even your best legs are likely to need a bit of cleanup, but you can handle that with the hatchet. The legs are crucial to this build, so take your time making them and cutting the joinery. We're going to install these legs with a round mortise and tenon. It's a strong joint that anyone can cut, even a beginner. Find the center of your leg and drill down with a 1 1/4 inch bit until the spurs just nick that end grain. That gives you your basic layout. Then measure down 3 inches from the end and mark a shoulder line across all 4 faces and corners of the leg. Use the fine teeth on the Ryoba to make a shallow cut across all 4 of those lines. To get easy access to the end of this leg, I've clamped it to my chopping block, which is a simple work surface made from a log and some scrap wood legs. I made a video about it last summer, and it's really helpful for outdoor projects like this one. If you don't have something similar, just clamp your leg to any upright surface. You could even use a tree or a fence post. Be a little creative, and you can make this work. With your stop cut made, you can take your hatchet and mallet and split off most of the waste around your joint. When the tenon is close to round, switch to your knife and keep trimming until you have a smooth cylinder with parallel sides. At this point, you might be wondering why I'm using such simple tools to make this bench. Well, this project is part of my new book, Everyday Woodworking. It's a complete guide to getting started in woodworking for people who have no tools and no experience, and I'm really excited about it. I'll talk more about the book later in the video, but this bench is the kind of project you'll find inside. Beginner-friendly, inexpensive, and made with basic tools. Now, back at our workbench, our leg tenons are just about done, but we want them to be a very tight fit in the bench. So, it's smart to make a sizing gauge. I've got a scrap of hardwood board here. It's a piece of bed frame that I pulled out of the trash, and I'm going to drill a hole through one end and then cut it off. As I push my scrap wood gauge down onto my tenon, the edge will leave clear marks where my tenon is too fat. Then I can come in with my knife and slowly trim the tenon to size. Sneak up on your final fit, and you'll end up with a tight joint. Now at this point, your leg tenons probably look something like this, and this is perfect except there's a bit of a shoulder, a bit of a shelf, right here at the bottom of the tenon, and that's a problem because as your bench top slides onto these tenons, it's going to hit that shoulder, and that's going to be a point of leverage. And as you use the bench, that leg is going to work back and forth, and that shoulder is going to loosen the tenon in the joint, and eventually the leg might fall out. So here's what we need to do instead. After we cut our round tenons, here's a completed version. You can see the round tenon right here going through the top, but underneath, instead of having that shoulder, it's been cut into a smooth taper. And that taper, as you put pressure on the bench, it slides up into the joint and wedges it more and more tightly the more you sit on it. So this taper is the key to the long-term strength of the joint. It's totally essential, but it's also easy to cut. Choke up on your hatchet handle and use short, controlled strokes, and you can quickly cut that taper. Doesn't need to look nice, it just needs to be smooth and gradual. Now that we've got the legs done, we're going to install them, and we're going to send them all the way through the top of the bench and the batten underneath. We're going to drill straight through both pieces. This is called staked construction, when the tenon travels all the way through the top and comes out the top surface. Now, staking it together like this is going to make the whole thing very strong because that tenon is going to be traveling through 2 pieces of wood, so it's going to have a lot of wood in the mortise. That's good. And also, connecting those 2 pieces with the tenon staked through, that's going to lock the top and the batten together very strongly and give us a really solid connection. The most important thing about getting this right is drilling those leg holes at the correct angle. I'll measure 10 inches back from the end of the bench and draw a perpendicular line. That's called the baseline, and we'll measure the other angles off of that. Now I'll measure in 3.5 inches from either side to find my leg hole locations. Mark these locations with big X's. Then put the edge of your square against the edge of the bench and slide it back until the square hits each X, and then strike a line. Now we have 45-degree sight lines for drilling the legs. I'll start drilling with a bit straight up and down to get my hole established. Then I've also made a little guide block with a 15-degree angle cut into the end. I stick that down to my 45-degree line and angle the bit to match it. As I drill, I keep my bit pointed towards my 45-degree sight line, and I keep it angled back toward me at 15 degrees. Just follow the line and the block, and you'll be fine. Beginners get confused by these angles, and it's totally understandable. All you need to know is that your legs are angled out at 15 degrees, and then they're rotated around to 45 degrees, just like this. And that compound angle is going to give your bench a very wide stance and make it really stable. People often get in touch with me and say, hey, could I build that same bench but make the legs straight up and down, skip all those angles? And the answer is yes, you can, and your bench will suck. So don't do that. Take a few extra minutes and get these angles right. Oh, and you can get this done with a spade bit in a brace, but it's a real pain. I highly recommend an electric drill for making these big holes and getting them straight. Just drill straight through the bottom of the bench, and don't worry about breaking out underneath. This is a workbench after all. Before I install the legs, I'm going to take my 2 leftover legs, cut them up for extra battens, and screw those to the underside of the bench for added support. When I installed my big battens, I only used a couple of screws so that I wouldn't hit them while I was drilling the leg holes. Now, I'll add a few more screws to the big battens too. With my bench upside down, I'll put each leg into a hole and tap it with my mallet. As I put each leg in, I also sand that taper with a piece of coarse sandpaper to get it a bit smoother and get better engagement with the underside of the mortise. With the legs installed, I'm penciling in a heavy line perpendicular to the grain of the bench. This is very important because we're going to wedge those legs once they are glued in. Double check this detail, and you might also want to number the legs and write corresponding numbers on the bench. That makes the final install a lot quicker. Then you can rip down the tenons along the lines we just drew. You also need some hardwood wedges, and you can cut these out of any scrap hardwood you have sitting around. I used walnut because it looks cool. Set your saw about 1/8 of an inch from the edge and angle your saw out just slightly. As you get to the end of the cut, press the wedge against the saw blade and finish gently. It might take a little practice, but you should end up with wedges that are fat on one end and taper to a feather edge. Since I've done a lot of prep work, the leg installation goes smoothly. Coat each tenon in glue and stick it in the correct mortise. Flip the bench over and rotate the legs so the slits in the tenons are perpendicular to the top. Then flip the bench back and tap the legs home with your mallet. It's also helpful to run a little sandpaper into those slits to help the wedges get started. Of course, this is much easier to do before you put the legs in. With the legs tightly seated in the bench, coat the wedges with glue and tap them into the tenons. I like to put a little extra glue around the top of the tenon too. You want to drive those wedges in until they stop moving, but not until they break. Give your joints an hour to dry and then flush cut the ends. Hopefully, yours will look something like this. Now you might need to trim the bottoms of the legs a little bit to level them out. I used the concrete floor of my garage as a reference. Once you have the bench all leveled out, then you need to learn how to use it. Now, it looks very simple, but there's actually a lot to know about using this bench effectively. The first thing to know is this might be the greatest saw bench ever. Here's my editor Nate, learning to saw on this bench. You can see how he holds the work with nothing but body weight and uses the big muscles in his arms and shoulders to move through the cut quickly and efficiently. You can rip or cross-cut on this bench, and it's much easier than using a high bench. Of course, there are those uneven boards at one end of the bench, and those look very weird, but they're going to allow us to do a bunch of other operations and hold our work really effectively. The corner created by those boards will support a piece of work on either side, while giving us a space underneath. So I can easily drill through this piece, and I don't have to worry about drilling into my bench. Now, all benches benefit from having a vise, and I built this vise into my original low bench. It works pretty well, but it's a time-consuming build. For my updated low bench, I want the work holding to be simpler and cheaper. So, by combining the uneven boards at the end of the bench with a short bar clamp and a single screw clamp, we can hold work in any position. To work on the end of a piece, I can just clamp it to my long board and saw right into the end. Because of the way the bench is made, it works especially well with Japanese saws. The pulling action of the Japanese saw draws the wood into that corner and holds it even more securely. The same setup works great for chiseling the ends of long pieces like legs. The work is resting on the floor, so it's perfectly supported. Now that this bench is done, it's much easier for me to carve tenons to make more staked furniture like chairs or benches. In fact, this might be the perfect bench for outdoor work, green woodworking, and chair making. Things get even better when I combine my two clamps. If I clamp my screw clamp upright, then I can get a small piece right up at eye level for easy detail work. I can also set my screw clamp flat with the jaws in the gap. And then I have something a lot like a traditional bench vise. Now I can clamp flat boards upright and work on the ends. This bench would not be my first choice for dovetailing and similar operations, but you could totally get it done. You can also plane your stock at this bench, especially if you use these inexpensive Chinese-style planes. Traditional Chinese carpenters actually sat at a low bench very similar to this one, and this dual-handle grip puts you right behind the work. It's the perfect thing to have when you're sitting straddling a bench and the work is right in front of you. So I can drop this notched board into my square mortise, and it easily holds stock on edge for dimensioning or jointing edges. Because the work isn't clamped down, it's easy to rotate it or flip it. This is a very efficient way of working. You can also make this low-profile planing stop. It just drops into a couple of holes and makes it easy to work on the faces of boards. Of course, all these details are also in the plans, and you can find a link to those down in the description. A low bench like this one won't replace a regular high bench, like the one you see me working at every week. But this bench is small, lightweight, and inexpensive, even at today's lumber prices. It is a fantastic bench for beginners and people just getting started. It's great for outdoor work, and it's really lightweight and portable. It's easy to store, so it's good for people who maybe don't have a dedicated workspace. And as I mentioned before in the video, this bench is one of the projects in my new book, Everyday Woodworking, which is a complete introduction to woodworking for absolute beginners. I've got 15 easy, approachable projects in here, including the bench, but also other stuff you saw in this video, like my low Japanese sawhorses and a great mallet. I've got an excellent milking stool in here, a bunch of stuff. And you can do all of these projects with 12 inexpensive hand tools. The book is basically an extension of my Woodwork for Humans videos. It's just, longer and more detailed because it's a book and not a video, and I've made a website to promote it. It's woodworkforhumans.com. You can go there right now and get exclusive videos, links to tools that I use, articles, and more information about the book. The book comes out on June 15th, but you can pre-order it right now anywhere you get books, and I'll put links in the description, and pre-orders really help with sales, so that would be awesome if you wanted to get the book and you wanted to order it now. And of course, if you just want to build the low bench, I have an excellent set of plans with a new, updated graphic design, and I will link to those in the description as well. Before I go, I have to shout out Chris Schwartz and his book, Ingenious Mechanics, which is the only reason I know about low benches in the first place. Thanks, Chris. And next week, I'm going to be back with a fantastic little furniture project. I'm looking at it right now. It's off camera, and it's really great. I think you're going to love it. See you next week. Thanks for watching.